Hi viewers, I welcome you to this Programming World channel. In this channel, we posting videos to help you to learn uh, on learning the C programming and also problem solving. And we created a new playlist that's for learning the C++ also. Okay, so already we have discussed the basic elements which are required for learning the C programming, and we have discussed about the arrays with static values, arrays with dynamic values, static arrays like that in my previous videos. So in these videos, I would like to discuss about the dynamic arrays, how we can implement in our C programming. So before going to implement about dynamic arrays, first we have to understand what is dynamic arrays. So dynamic arrays in the sense, so if you take array is what a collection of similar type of elements. So when you go with what static array, we are in need of what declaring the size of our array. For example, in static array, so what we doing? So we have to represent the size. Okay, so for an example, like in list of 5 or 10, okay, or sometimes 100, like that we may initialize the size of our array. That means that how many elements it can able to store or maintain the list, or it can have the elements. Okay, so what happens is if you give 100 elements, for an example, you see, you give 100 elements in your list to process, but whereas in execution, okay, in execution we are using only what very less. In execution, we use only what 10 or 20, okay. What happen is in different execution you are taking very few number of elements to store in your list. So what happen is, suppose if you take only the 10 elements to process, then 90 elements space, okay, 90 elements space may be wasted, elements may be wasted in static array approach. Okay, so there is no memory efficiency. So there you can find a wastage of memory. And also suppose you see, you give 100 elements to process, but you want to process like 110 elements or 150 elements. So that time what happen is the static array that cannot be what extend its size. Okay, so it is what limited within the size only it can able to behave. But in your case, what happen is you want to store more than 100 elements. So in such cases, a static array that cannot help you. So this is the kind of problem we have in what static array. One is what wasting of memory space when you go with what very few number of elements compared to the array size what you have fixed. And one more thing, in a case you want to store more than the size of the elements what you have mentioned, more than the size of the array you want to use. So that time definitely the static array cannot help you because it is fixed in size. So to resolve these kind of issues, we have what dynamic array. Okay, so these problems that could be solved by using what dynamic arrays. So dynamic arrays, that means that the array size that will be made at runtime. Okay, so what is the way to implement this? In the sense, the concept is what actually the approach is dynamic memory allocation. This is the approach we have for doing that. So that is simply known as what DMA approach. So dynamic memory allocation, which helps to initialize the size of the array. According to that, what happen is the memory size will be given to our array variable. Okay, for an example, suppose if you take the static array, here we have what 100 elements you want to store. Okay, what happen is 100 into 4 bytes, 400 bytes will be given. Okay, so memory size 400 size, 400 bytes size will be given to our array. But we are using only what 40 bytes as per this case, like 10 elements if we are going to process, then only the 40 bytes of memory space will be used. Okay, so the remaining 360 memory bytes will be wasted. Okay, so such kind of things could be avoided when we go with what the DMA based approach to provide the memory size or memory block at the time of execution. So that is the exact purpose of what dynamic arrays. That is the exact role of what the dynamic memory allocation to initialize the array size at runtime and memory blocks that will be given at runtime. So due to that, what happen is that could be very very memory efficient one. Okay, right. So now we come to the discussion about how to create this one. Okay, so when we go forward having the runtime memory allocation, we have to use a header file like mlh because this is what actually memory allocation header file. It has so many functions, but in this session we will discuss about one function about how we can allocate the memory at the runtime. Okay, so here, so if you when we go forward dynamic arrays, so we need to create a pointer variable. With the help of pointer variable only, the memory blocks that could be assigned at the runtime for a variable. Okay, so the people those who are not aware of pointer, so please look at the video about the pointer what we posted already in our channel, so that may help you to understand the role of pointer and also how it can be used. Okay, right, now I come to this. So here the pointer variable, it is essential for what allocating the memory for a variable at runtime. After then, you need to create a variable that's about what collecting the size, okay, which is required size at the runtime from our user end. Okay, because the user end, they have to specify what about the size. I mean, the number of elements they want to process in the particular execution. Okay, here you can see the 10 elements, 90 elements, but the size is what actually 100. But whereas when it comes to what a dynamic array, so directly they can give only what the limit like 10. I want to process only with 10 elements. I want to process only with 90 elements. So according to the number of elements what we provided, then the memory allocation that will be given to our array. Okay. So how that could be done in the sense with the help of what malloc function. So the MLR function which is required. Okay, so I will discuss about the syntax of the memory allocation function in the next few minutes. Okay, after using the memory allocation function, yeah, then as usual, we have to go with what for loop and also scanf statement with index variable of the list or array to read and also the display the values using printf statement. Okay, that is very similar to what the static array what we have discussed already in our C programming. Okay, right. So now you come to this example. Here you can see that I created a pointer variable that is what star array, or we can make it as what star list. Okay, star list. So it is what a array in the name of what list. It takes what the size. Here you can find a static variable I have made like n. Okay, it takes what static value. I have made an integer variable, not a static variable, integer variable n. It takes what a static assignment like 5. Okay, so you can use scanf statement to take the value for what n, and that could be given to your array size. Okay, right. Now I come to the point. Okay, so this variable n, which is used to what specify what about the number of elements we want to store it in our array. Now you can see the syntax and also how we can use the memory allocation function in our dynamic array. Yeah, you can see that int star, then memory allocation within bracket you have to provide the size of the data type. Okay, that's about what the memory bytes, which is what which is required for a data type for a single element. Okay, afterwards you have to multiply with what the number of elements you want to store. Here I want to store what 5 integer elements. And what about the memory size of the integer is what memory size of memory size of integer is 4 bytes according to my architecture. Okay, so 4 bytes I want to store how many elements, 5. So it gives what it takes 4 into 20, that is 4 into 5 is equal to 20 bytes. So 20 bytes of memory blocks will be given to our list. Okay, so and one more thing, you can find it, this is what actually int star, in the sense this pointer variable which is created to what integer, and also it takes the memory blocks at the runtime through the memory allocation function, and it is for storing the integer elements. So for the case it takes the address in the form of what integer, that means 4 bytes of the memory blocks to be taken for storing and also accessing the integer values as per the number of elements to access. Okay, This is the exact meaning of using the memory allocation, and also the exact purpose of using this syntax in our dynamic memory allocation to take the starting address. Please understand, it gives a starting address, and also the memory block size, it is what limited like 4 bytes. Okay, up to 20 bytes of memory blocks that could be processed for accessing 5 elements in the dynamic array. That is the exact meaning behind in this. Okay, I hope you people understand about this one. So now I go toward the simple program, the example part. So here you can find it. Okay, yeah, I have included the header file. Afterwards I have included the header file like malloc to take the usage of what the memory allocation function here. And I have made the variable like array, so now I can make it as what list. Okay, so list. Okay, list is declared as a pointer. Okay, afterwards, yeah, we take a variable like n to get the size at the runtime. You can see that enter the number of elements we want to store, and the maximum size like that I given no, here it is not required. Why? Because this is what actually dynamic array, so it can able to store as per the number of as per the size which is required to process. Okay, so no need to give that constraint here. Then we use a scanf statement, scan of percentage d ampersand n. Okay. Afterwards, as I discussed about how the memory allocation function used, here you can find that. You see, int star, then a memory allocation, size of it is an operator which helps you to what take the give the memory size of your variable or data type. Okay. So here it is what a data type integer. So its memory size is what 4 bytes. Already I discussed about in data types also. You people know that. Right now I come to that. So data type size into what the number of elements we want to process. That is a computation we are doing to take the memory blocks to be used for our array. Okay, so the address, the reference will be given. I mean the first memory location that will be given to our list. Afterwards, yeah, we have to use the input phase and also output phase. So that is what very similar to the static arrays how we process. Okay, you can see that for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Then we go with what ampersand list of I to take the elements one by one. And to display the elements, yeah, we are using printf statement and also the for loop. And here you can see that, okay, I have made in which memory locations the elements are stored. Okay, you can see that ampersand list of 5. That means what is a reference operator that will be used to display the location where the element is stored. Then list of 5, that is what actually the array which is what used to display the element. Here, please understand one thing that the pointer variable is different. Here it is what the pointer it is used for accessing the array. So in this case, what happen is the syntax wise that may be what different. Okay, because if you look at the pointer variable, you are working on a single variable. So that time it is what different. Suppose we go with what without asterisk symbol, it is what accessing the address. When you go with what star or asterisk symbol with the pointer variable, it processes the content. But here, when you process a list of items, this is what different. Okay. So now I would like to show the execution of it. Now you can see that there is no. Okay, this I will discuss about later. Okay. So here you can see that this is what another function which is in the memory allocation. I will discuss later about it. Okay. So now here you can find that there is no warnings. Okay. Now we go for what executing that. So now you can find that what it is asking about the number of elements we want to store. I'm giving only what 3 now. Okay. So we can enter the elements one by one. 10, then 20, then 30. Yes, now you can see the 10, 20, 30, and in which locations those are stored. Okay, as I told you, pointer wise it is what different, and also the pointer to the array it is what different. Okay, so when you use what without asterisk symbol, it is representing what the data or content stored in your sequence. Okay, right now I come to the point. Here you can find the different memory locations, and also you can see the 4 bytes of difference. Okay, because the integer value it is what the memory size in 4 bytes. That's why you can see that the first 4 bytes 60 to 63 that will be used for what the value to store 10. Okay, then 64 to 67 those bytes uh, that will be used for what storing the value 20. Okay, as like that 65 to 68. That will be used for what? Storing the value 30. Okay, so here you can see that very first time you see I have made like three elements to store. Okay, suppose if I want to store um, five elements. Now my code which is what supporting me to take five elements to process. Now you can see that 10, 5, 4, 3, then sorry 4, then 2. Here you can see that. Now you can see that the memory blocks will be what in with a different address. So it is what dynamic memory allocation. So the operating system that will supply the memory blocks to be used for what? Keeping the data. Okay. So it is happening in runtime. Explicitly, there is no need to specify in which memory location we want to store the data. Operating system, it is what randomly giving the free memory blocks that will be processed for storing our data. Okay, that's why in the previous execution we got some other different address. Here also you can find a different address which are used for what? Storing our list of elements. Okay, and now I come to the point. Here you can see that here we not in our code we not mention the size anywhere for the array. Okay, we take a variable n and through the memory allocation function we allocate the memory as per the requirement. Suppose you want to access 100 elements in array, yeah, definitely that is possible through this. Okay, so that is the advantage of going with the dynamic array, and also this is what the exact difference with static array. Static array, that is very simple to implement, but the problem is what? Memory wastage, and also that may not support to process when we want to access more than when we want to access the elements more than the given size in the static array. But whereas when it comes to the dynamic array, it is what memory efficient one, and also it is what solving those two issues. So preferably we can go with the dynamic arrays to make our system as memory efficient one. I hope you people understand about the dynamic array and also the difference between static array and dynamic array. So now I come to the last statement on this. That is what free of array. So here this free of array, that's about what you know. So what about the memory blocks we have allocated? Okay, those memory blocks can be released by using this free function. Okay, so the free, it represents that free the memory of the array. Sorry, free the memory of the array variable what is created dynamically. Okay, so the list, it is having what the memory blocks, that memory blocks will be released from the list array variable. So those memory blocks can be used for some other purpose in the operating system. So please understand, whenever we are using memory allocation scheme, after using the list or array variable, after processing the application code, then we can release the memory for those variable, then that can be utilized by the operating system for some other services which are required the memory blocks. Okay, so that's why we have to use this free memory releasing function. Okay, I hope you people understand about how the memory allocation and also how the free function also working for what in dynamic memory allocation scheme. I hope you people understand about the different between the dynamic array and also the static array, and beyond that, how the pointer which supports for implementing the dynamic memory allocation scheme for arrays. I hope you people enjoy this. If you people feel that this is good for you people to learn programming, please click on the like button, and also I request you to subscribe the people those who not yet subscribed, and I request you people to click on the bell icon to get the notifications for the new post videos. I hope you enjoy this. So in coming days also we post the videos to help you to improve your programming skills. Okay. Thank you for watching this. Thank you.